Hello there, welcome to Doctor Who. Thank you for joining us. I'm Master Way It Goes, and I'm better known as Dave, and this is the first episode of Doctor Who radio show for a while, and my homie with me is...
This is Jimmy Porto from upstate New York.
Well, after what can only be described as tidbits news, really, latest DVD releases, the news that Dark Eyes has won an audio award for Big Finish, we now have some proper Doctor Who news. First we had a picture which was of his costume yesterday on the 27th of January 2014, and today we've actually had one of the first pictures of Peter Capaldi in his costume and the TARDIS. So, Monk, what do you think of this new, brand new, official 12th Doctor costume?
Well, the red lining in his jacket reminds me of Pertwee's red lining in his cape. But I actually like the way it looks. It looks professorial.
It fits his sort of personality and appearance as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're right though, the red velvet, I mentioned this on my Instagram picture yesterday, and I noted that just like the second Doctor inspired Matt Smith's Doctor, who was really a modern, version of the second Doctor, his stance is basically John Pertwee. It's the same sort of, it's like an updated one. The only difference is, unlike John Pertwee's, velvet coat and, red trimmings and cape, he's just simply got a suit. But it's very much the same. He points his finger out as well, but he does it in his own style.
Yes.
Would you say it's sort of mellowed down, sort of less sort of showy, but more smart and genteel, so to speak?
Yeah. More of a doctor for our times rather than a doctor for the 70s.
Ah, that's a good way of putting it. Because I think it's fair to say that John Pertwee's costume was a little bit eccentric in some respects for the early 70s.
Yeah.
Just after the end of the swinging 60s and the psychedelic era, psychedelia, more Jason King type costume. But it wouldn't have been really something you would have found in the 70s of working class Britain, really.
No, it would be very upper class.
And I think that's kind of the difference. You could say the same about Matt Smith's original costume that was, all tweed and nutty professor. That would stand out even in modern, Britain. But this doesn't stand out too much. It's still got a certain sartorial flair, he said, becoming a little bit sort of posh, as he said it, Porsche. And that's it. Amazing. Do you think Peter Capaldi, since he's been a fan of Doctor Who since the early 70s, they had that letter of his written to the Radio Times. Do you think this is like his sort of taking inspiration from his Doctor? Not necessarily.
It could be
fan service.
They could have asked him what would you like to wear and how would you like this to look. He could have had input into it.
I see. Because when Matt Smith was taking his turn to choose his costume, he at first was being almost lumbered with the original plan was a Pirates of the Caribbean type costume, which he detested. He thought was completely and utterly wrong for him. And oddly enough, in the months near time of the Doctor and before that day of the Doctor, there were pictures of him basically testing out different sort of setups, including that pilot type costume. And you know what he means. Peter Davison has always said that really each Doctor endows, personality-wise and probably costume-wise, a little bit of themselves. Their characters, the Doctor, is both a exaggeration of themselves, but also their own personality, which is shown very well in Tom Baker, John Pertwee, of course, and Peter Davison himself, and Sylvester McCoy. And I think this is continuing the tradition. Does this say anything, Monk, about his personality that we might see in the 12th Doctor?
Don't know if it means we're going to see more gadgets. If it'll be a gadgety Doctor like Pertwee's Doctor had all kinds of gadgets, and even maybe they'll bring back Bessie.
He's going to be.
Will he be working with?
Is he going to be a?
Will he work with?
A minute now.
Okay. Will he be working with Unit more?
Good question. So there is the possibility that, of course they've reintroduced the daughter of Lethbridge Stewart. So that might be a rather good point of yours. Perhaps not have a unit family all the way through, but possibly having regular reappearances type thing.
Of course, I don't want to see the Doctor confined to Earth. I want to see him go into other planets.
The only is, though, the last time we saw the Doctor and Clara, his TARDIS was crashing again.
Yeah.
And there is a possibility. How do you think this idea sounds? You've got Vastra, Jenny, and Strax. They could, in theory, be a sort of another candidate for a sort of unit family, or I don't know what to call it in this era, but a sort of revisiting, reimagining, as it were.
They could be. I really don't like Madame Vastra. I like Jenny. I like Strax. I don't like Madame Vastra. But they could be.
We've already had the Doctor recently stuck in one time in one place, which was by choice, as we saw in the Snowmen. So maybe I've always had this feeling, that at the end of each Doctor's era, you get a sort of foreshadowing of what will be prominent ideas and themes in the next Doctor. Like at the end of Patrick Troughton's time, that's when they introduced units, and you had invasion stories in modern day Earth, and then of course, as we've been saying, John Pertwee's era was virtually all that up till 1974, of course. And then at the end of his time, the Doctor was travelling freely in space again, and that became prominent in the fourth Doctor era, which in turn meant that unit went out the window. Of course, yes, he'll be looking for Gallifrey, presumably.
Yeah, if he remembers. We don't know how. If he can't remember how to fly the TARDIS, what else has he forgotten?
Oh boy.
Does he even know who he is?
We've had some interesting filming photographs, one where he's on a horse, and I think the first story is set in Victorian London, the same period of the Snowmen episode, and he's basically had a reset. This is basically the first sort of body of this new regeneration cycle.
Yep.
So it's starting from scratch.
They shouldn't call him Dr. 13. They should call him Dr. 1, because he's number 1 in a new regeneration cycle.
Or Dr. 1B, perhaps.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I'm presuming this Doctor will be far more down to earth. I presume so, anyway. And he's got a normal sort of jacket, a sort of laid-back casual jacket. But really, apart from that,
I think that this Doctor is going to be a bit more serious, judging from his very, very first appearance in the 50th anniversary, where you only saw his eyes. Intense concentration.
There's been a YouTube video that I've seen recently, everyone, where a fan actually inserted the regeneration and that bit from the 50th anniversary into each other, suggesting that when you see his eyes and he slams down the lever as the final Doctor who helps get rid of the Daleks, etc., it's actually happening just after he's regenerated from Doctor 11 to Doctor 12 or whatever number you want to call it. But it doesn't really work too well because it makes no sense really narrative wise. But bear in mind, everyone, just like with the early days of the 11th Doctor, because we heard a little sort of audio recording of what would turn out to be Victory of the Daleks. He says, "I am the Doctor, and you are the Daleks, and I am the Doctor." That bit, and everybody thought it was rubbish. But that was misleading people to presume he was going to be like that all the time, shouting or whatever. So take these as hints and ideas of what it could be like, but let's not jump to conclusions. It might be influenced by the third Doctor's era, unsurprisingly, costume-wise, etc. But I would hazard a guess that this Doctor will be way, way different than what we, can envision.
Yeah, might take us all by surprise, which would be nice.
They've suggested that you might perhaps have us still have a little bit of Matt Smith character or something like that. But I just got...
There is a rumor going around that there is a scene in which his Doctor talks to Matt Smith's Doctor via telephone.
Oh? For what purpose?
Don't know what the purpose is. But that's the rumor. First, it's Jenna that's talking to Matt Smith's Doctor, and then Capaldi's Doctor picks up the phone and starts talking to Matt Smith's Doctor. But like I said, it's a rumor. I have no idea if it's a fact.
Yeah, it's a rumor, but they don't know. If it's a rumor, then surely they would know details of the rumor and why he's calling his previous, not just self, but the last self of his previous regeneration cycle.
I heard the rumor from our Scottish friend.
Oh, our Scottish friend. I see.
Yep.
Well, that would be an interesting idea, and it would be possible if they'd filmed a little, scene before Matt Smith hung up his, undid his bow tie. But, like I was saying, the regeneration story should be about that Doctor that's been introduced, not swamped by other characters, or
right.
Oh, Gordon Bennett, this obsession in the 80s with amnesia and confusion in a newly regenerated Doctor, which absolutely effed up the Twin Dilemma. You can include that because that's only natural, but you can show it in such a way that it literally is just there for 1 minute or so, Patrick Troughton's doctor managed to do it, and that was literally just a few minutes of this 4-part story. We're not there. We're not watching the episode to see him confused and making mistakes because he's suffering from amnesia, everybody. We're there to see the new doctor and see him develop through the course of the episode. Although I will say, in the classic series, yet again they had an advantage of time. You had 4 episodes to get used to a new doctor, which also meant that if you didn't get the first or second episode of this new doctor right, you had another 2 episodes to sort of flesh out the character, or at least set him on his way to progress further. So if you were to hazard a guess just from the picture alone of him pointing his finger out like the Third Doctor did, how would you say describe the 12th Doctor off the top of your head in just a few words, character-wise?
Right. He is a doctor you will not want to mess with. He'll fight for what is right. He'll stand up for what is right. He'll go out of his way to fight for what is right. You don't want to mess with this doctor.
Yeah, I think I can second that point by Monk. This is a doctor who, just like the Third Doctor, will be ready for action. He'll also be ready for the enemy or monster. He will be flamboyant. He'll be less or more of what we saw. Flippant. Like he's saying, "Oh, we're probably just crashing." So I think this is a doctor who will be as bright as his red velvet underlay in his coat, and he'll be a modern doctor. But what his surroundings will be like, and who his companions will be, I'm not entirely sure.
Well, we know Jenna's a companion. She's signed on for all Series 8, so we know that.
Holy smoke.
And there's a rumor that they're going to have a male companion, and it's probably going to be the teacher that was in the 50th anniversary.
What, he's going to...
Which means it'll be like the very first Doctor, whose companions will be the 2 school teachers. Because we know Jenna's a school teacher.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So First Doctor, Third Doctor era sort of meshing with modern day 21st century Earth. Interesting. A sort of back to the future and then back into the past. Yeah. Days of Future's Past, Back to the Future type mentality.
Yeah.
Inspiring and inventing. And that is all we have time for Doctor Who Radio Show, because I think we've stretched out the suit of the 12th Doctor as much as we can. So all I have to say, everyone, I have been and will be, that's the way it goes, 09, and this has been
Jimmy Porto from upstate New York.
Until next time, keep hooing.